Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents we continue all the way to episode 352 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. All right, everybody, calm down. It's time to Scooby-Doo this shit. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like a doer from the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
And this is Holly from Wisconsin. And I know magic too. Please.
Yes. This is Rachel, not currently in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am back in Adam Driver's old digs. Ish. Oh, but we've had that discussion before.
Yes, we have. Episodes, something or other. Go look it up.
Something or other. Yep. One of those Star Wars episodes.
One of those Star Wars episodes.
Yep.
From way back when. But here we are. Hope everyone has had a lovely Christmas and gearing up for the new year. And hope you've maybe you're laying on the couch hungover from too much chocolate or whatever else. But
or if you're stuck in an airport terminal somewhere, our sympathies, at least hopefully this will make the time fly by a little quicker. Pardon the pun.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, here's hoping wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you're staying safe and healthy, and for those that celebrate Christmas, that Santa brought you everything that you wanted. Yes. And thanks to everyone who's been sharing all their geeky Christmas presents on our Facebook page.
Yes. It was funny because we started shopping early because, everything's kind of nuts and we didn't want all of our Christmas stuff to be stuck in a port in California somewhere. So we started in October shopping. And then as I was starting to wrap our presents, I was like, dang, we got the kids a lot of stuff. And then I was like, dang, we got us a lot of stuff. That's just kind of happened when you start early. So yeah,
Chrissy,
we did good. Santa was good to us this Christmas.
My mom and I were in the same boat because we started shopping early, and then it's just like this morning my mom comes out from one of the rooms and she's got a couple more bags in her hand. I'm like, what's that? She's like, forgotten Christmas gifts that were supposed to go under the tree. I'm like, oh, forgot about those.
Yeah. There is one DVD. We're not it's a DVD Blu-ray set. We're not sure where it ended up, but I do know it came from Amazon. But and also my father-in-law, like Christmas morning after everything's unwrapped, he hands me this grocery sack with some candy in it. And I was like, oh yeah, those are supposed to go in the kids' stockings. Oops. Oopsies. I mean, it's not like they didn't get candy, but there it was. It's like I remember buying those like 1st of November.
Yeah. It's just like, now the question: do I give them or does Mama keep them for her own personal stash? Or
they were those little boxes, or those little storybook things, quote unquote, with the lifesaver gummies.
Sure.
I ate one of them. One of the things. I think the rest they're just somewhere, but gosh, they got so much candy. Nah, this is what happens when your dad is one of Santa's helpers growing up, and you just kind of have this thing about make Christmas big and awesome, so you get all the things when you have your own kids. It's awesome.
And then when you reach a certain age, you hide stuff and then you forget about it, and then you find it months later, and it's like extending the holiday.
Yes, it's like
a la Clark Griswold.
Yes,
like, hey kids, Santa left this for mid-March. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Santa was doing a list checkup, and here you go.
Yeah. Elf on the Shelf. I know some families that they'll do it. You get a treat every year. Well, Elf on the Shelf came in the summer. Here you go. But no, yeah, we had a good time. The kids made out like bandits, and we got some cool stuff. And I got some fun things which I commented on our little post. And
yes, I saw that. Very nice.
Yes, I was very excited. So if you haven't seen our little comment thread, go check it out on our Facebook page.
Feel free to add to it.
Yes, indeed.
It's not going anywhere.
Nope.
All right. Well, we don't really have much in the way of in news except for a little trailer that dropped, but technically it's also part of this week's discussion, so we'll talk about it when we get to this week's discussion.
Yeah.
After we've done the spoiler warning. So
yes. I don't know how spoilery it is if you've seen the trailers for Spider-Man, but again, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
It's something you could kind of figure was going to happen. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, better safe than sorry, I suppose.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. So other than that, this new episode of Gold Standard is out in the feeds for everyone. So we're closing in and finishing out close to being done with the 1960s. But it's definitely the vibe of Hollywood is changing at this point by the mid to late 60s, and it definitely will in the 70s.
Oh jeez.
And it definitely gave us a lot to talk about, because this is probably one of the most like serious movies that we've done up until this point, where it tackles several serious subjects in one film. So yeah, don't let the runtime scare you, because it's a good conversation. It's just very serious, the subject matter. So, but it was a good discussion. So there's that. It's out in the feeds. And then you got a few days left for book club at this point.
Yes.
As we're recording this.
Yes. There's a few days left in December, so
and I better go check to make sure I voted.
Yeah. Yep. So if you want to get in on the vote, get to it. We ain't waiting.
Nope.
So that's about it for news. So move on to feedback. Got a little bit of feedback from Shalane. And she says, she said she did see Ryan the Last Dragon, and it's really cute. I started it and then got distracted by other things, so I need to go back and finish it. I liked what I'd seen up until I stopped. And yeah, it just, with all these animated movies, it's Disney at this point is just all like, hey, you done other Disney adjacent stuff, like, oh, you're part of the MCU or Star Wars, well, we're going to use your voice for animated stuff too. We we've got our claws in you. You're part of the House of Mouse now. You're not getting away. So yeah, there's people like Awkwafina and Benedict Wong and Gemma Chan who do voices of Ryan the Last Dragon. So and then Encanto, which I've still not seen yet, but it's now out on Disney Plus now, and
I'm about a half hour into it, and so far so good. I just need to sit down and finish the rest of it.
Yeah, and I know Brittany watched it and she said it was really good, and Nick has seen it and he said it's really, really good, and it's probably going to be the Disney film that, their animated feature that's going to like win all the things. I'm
thinking so. I mean, it's kind of right up there with Coco.
Oh yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of kind of parallels. At least that's from what I've seen so far, in my opinion.
Is it gonna make me cry like Coco though?
Jury's still out on that yet. Like I said, I'm about 30 minutes in and I haven't quite finished yet. So I will get back to you.
Okay. I need to know if I need to have tissues, Randy. So
I will message you when I get done with a picture of a Kleenex box if need be.
Okay. Good to know. And then I have not seen this on Disney Plus. I need to go look for it now. We were talking about the goofy cartoons, like how to ski and how to all apparently there's a goofy cartoon on Disney Plus of how to stay at home.
Interesting. This one I'd like to see too.
I'm guessing that's new and probably relevant. They probably
but it's like you need a how-to for that.
Yeah.
I get it.
How
it's
to make
goofy.
How to stay at home and make it more interesting in a goofy kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, I know, the Goofy how-to series, and they're one of my favorites. But it's it's things like how to play football, how to ski, how to dance, how to be a sailor. things that you're like, oh yeah, that's
how to drive.
How to drive. Things that have some level of, I need to learn how to do a thing. But
and Disney, if you're listening, we need to bring back the Ludwig von Drake. I want to see those added into the vault, please. On Disney.
Yes, I mean, I know you guys are kind of concerned about your level of subscribers. I think you would probably get more if you put more of those old school Disney cartoons in there. Just saying. There's a nickel's worth of free advice.
Yes, I mean, I'm still remembering the snoring with Ludwig.
No, that one's how to stay at home.
Yes.
That's how you do it. Anyway.
Well, thank you, Shalane, for the feedback and excuse me.
Ooh, bless you. Bless you.
My sinuses do not know how to handle the current weather situation. It's not a white Christmas here. It is a wet Christmas, and my poor sinuses are not happy. Oh, it has been raining since last night.
Yeah, we've had rain, we've had snow flurries, we have a snow squall advisory.
It's not
right now.
cold enough here for there to be a snow.
Yeah. So anyway, again, be safe wherever you are.
Yes. That is true. So yeah, moving on. So not a whole lot, but it's the holidays. No news is good news at this point. So
right. It's like let's just close out the year in peace after what it was. But
yeah. Yep.
Which I suppose we'll do something like that later. But
yep.
To close out the year,
sound the spoiler alarm.
Yes, although if the box office is anything to go by, I think probably the whole world's seen this movie right now.
Yeah, probably.
Just in case. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home is looking at the box office and going, "Pandemic who?"
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like I think everybody showed up for this movie twice. In some cases.
Yes.
If I had time, I would have seen it twice already, but I have not had
Same here.
Yet, so
Same here.
But considering it's broken $1 billion worldwide already.
Yes.
And it's been out for 10 whole days.
And it's been overwhelmingly praised. I mean, I know, like just kind of looking at the Rotten Tomato score, and I know Rotten Tomatoes, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. But it's a pretty good gauge. Holy crap, this Spider-Man No Way Home basically hit it out of the park.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It is. If you and this is a movie that if you know I'll say, like, I saw the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man in 2001, the day it came out. I remember because we got tickets late, and I ended up having to sit on the front row, like with my neck craned up so I could see. I loved the heck out of that movie. Loved the second movie. The third movie was fine. But I if you have been there from that first movie and been following the Spider-Man saga, both in universe and with all the, the rights and the reboots,
it's been 20 years since
20 years
Tobey Maguire ones, and then 10 years since Andrew Garfield ones.
So this one, definitely feels like this is a love letter to those of us who have been following our Spidey, our dear friend Spidey, in every incarnation, even to into the Spider-Verse. I feel like there were a couple little shout outs there. I mean, just the fact that this movie is what it is, that's a shout out to Into the Spider-Verse as well. And this definitely feels like, you got all the Sony villains, and with the MCU, window dressing, I suppose. And then again, we sounded the spoiler alert. There's Spider-Men, Peter Parkers.
It's a Peter Parker party going on up in this joint.
Yes. And it was I don't know how it was in your theaters, because we saw it. We saw it the Monday, because we just couldn't get there the opening weekend, but we saw it the Monday after.
I saw it on Thursday before opening.
Yeah,
it was, and my little town theater was packed.
Yeah. Ours,
Mom and I fell behind on our watching, so she only got through movie 2 of Tobey Maguire, and silly me thought we had enough time, so I showed her the extended version instead of the theatrical version. So we were able to make it into seats and get stuff, and it was packed, and it was like, but my theater went nuts when certain people appeared on screen.
Yes. Our theater was the same even several days after the release, because and ours wasn't packed because it was a Monday night, but it was still like, I'm like, this is we haven't been to the movies a lot since what happened. But even so, it's like, even since then, this is the most people I've seen in a movie theater.
Yes. Same here.
In a long time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was,
I mean, we're talking about almost like Star Wars level packed.
Which is funny because, up until now, Spider-Man has just kind of felt like, he's one piece of the MCU. Like they brought him in Civil War, and you have Iron Man, you have Captain America, you have Thor. I mean, cool, we got Spider-Man in there. That's awesome. So this
under ruse.
Yes. But it kind of seems like this Spider-Man is kind of not risen to those levels of, we're gonna, Spider-Man's gonna take over. But then you throw in these, I mean, it's kind of, and it's kind of nostalgic, kind of fan service, but it's also the fact that they use these characters not as, hey, look, here's a fun little cameo. Okay, go away. We gave you your paycheck. Get out of here. No, these characters, and the other Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up. They are part of the story.
Yes,
they're not just, showing up at the 11th.
The plot along.
Yes.
There's a reason they're there.
Yes, because Tom Holland, his Spider-Man has finally had that big, gut punch thing, because he really hasn't. And knowing what I know about Spider-Man, that's like a key part of his character. Not just that, he got bit by a spider and he has these powers, but all these things happen to him, like his Uncle Ben dies, and it's sort of his fault, and and then all these things happen because he's a superhero and because he's trying to do these things. Well, Tom Holland's Spider-Man really hasn't had a lot of that yet. And then, but Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parkers, they have. So it's like,
right,
MJ and Ned, they really can't get Peter through this crisis, but these other Spider-Men can. And I was just like, oh my gosh, you guys did it. You guys actually did character for all of these characters, and it's not just Tom Holland, and it like Andrew Garfield's, because that was the other thing is I felt so bad for, I feel bad for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but Andrew Garfield the most because he didn't get his third movie.
Yeah,
no, he didn't.
But they actually gave him some closure there, and to the point, and they did it so well, like to the point that people are all like, can we get another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie? Which I know Sony is up there going like, we'll, write this down and we're taking notes. And I mean, this is, I kind of feel like
kind of doing the Don Corleone chin scratch.
Yeah, they're like, they're looking at that box office. They're looking at that. I just feel like there hasn't been a movie that, has been marketed the way that this one has been marketed, and that the story has been there, and it hasn't just been like, okay, we're just gonna show up, throw this up, and you're gonna throw money at us, right? It's like, no, they actually earned our our money, our time, our esteem even. And I am just this is like that, this is so refreshing right now, speaks volumes, not just about this particular movie, but as the movies as a whole. And that this one is the one that's like, oh my gosh, you're actually treating your audience like adults, like they actually know what they want and what they like, and you're getting rewarded for it. So and Sony, they actually are listening to fan and audience input, and they're doing some pretty amazing things. And it's kind of like they've sort of flown under the radar on this, because everyone's been looking at Marvel and DC, and then Sony's just kind of been in the back here like, okay, we've got a Venom, we're gonna do Morbius, oh hey, by the way, Spider-Man, look at this, we're redeeming all of our missteps from before, and don't you love it? And it's like, yeah, we kind of do.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's directed really well, which this is the first MCU character trilogy to have the same director for all three.
Yeah.
John Watts did all three of these Tom Holland Spider-Mans. And it's written so well, and it's crazy because they had like this script, like if you look at interviews and stuff, when they talk about the process of going into making this movie, and they knew they wanted to have Andrew and Toby and all these villains that we'd had before come in, but it was so many moving parts, and they just weren't sure if who they were able to get and in what combination. So they were constantly having to rewrite the script based on, okay, so and so signed on, so and so, we've they're thinking about it, they just haven't signed the contract yet, we're still waiting. So there were versions of the script where like none of them were involved, and like it was going to be almost like a mini civil war between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and then the villains started signing on, and then like Andrew signed on, and apparently Toby supposedly was the last one to sign on, so they were trying to figure out how to do it with just Andrew. And so it was like, well, and it was just the fact that the stars aligned to get this particular group of people, and they were able to get
those particular set of villains,
and a script that was written so well that it makes sense for these characters from their respective universes, but also makes sense inside the MCU.
Yes.
And it's also not so like unlike in the Spider-Verse, where it's like they have very distinct like looks, and it's very obvious that they're not from Miles Morales' universe.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Verse is its own thing, but I kind of get the feeling that Sony looked at that and like, wait, that's like, let's try doing this in live action. And we're gonna borrow Doctor Strange from the MCU, and we're gonna so we can do the whole meld universes. But then at a certain point they're like, okay, Doctor Strange, you're gonna get shoved into the mirror dimension, whatever, and it's just gonna be Peter and these villains. And it's just so delicious to see this, because
and by the way, Doctor Strange no longer Sorcerer Supreme, and therefore he does not have the Time Stone anymore, so therefore he can't just use the Time Stone to like fix all of the all this crap. So when he does get shoved in the mirror dimension and doesn't have his sling ring and doesn't have the Time Stone, he's kind of screwed, and therefore has to hang out at the Grand Canyon for 12 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
And no sonic screwdriver to help him.
Yeah, exactly. So it puts the agency back in Peter's hands instead of having the super powerful wizard coming and saving the day.
Yeah, which is a huge deal, because going
and also
back
means they don't have to pay Benedict Cumberbatch as much either.
Well, that too. But going back to like the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, because his movies unfortunately have felt like he's been an appendage to the MCU, rather than these movies being about him, that he's just sort of he's Iron Man Jr. basically. And then now it's like, no, you've got to figure out how to be a superhero. You've got to you live with the consequences of your actions, because that whole time all of this happens because people know who he is. And so he goes to Doctor Strange and says, oh, please fix my problem, because Tony Stark, either Tony Stark or his tech have been there to fix his problems. And then he's just like, well, no, wait, the spell isn't right, let me fix it. And he actually has consequences to the things that he does, and he hasn't had those consequences up until now. And that's what makes it an interesting story, and that's what makes it a Spider-Man story, because Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he does things that he they sound good, they sound right.
He makes the kind of decisions that you think a teenager would make.
Yes, he's a senior in high school, and he's got all these powers. He hasn't, this Spider-Man has not had with great power comes great responsibility moment. He gets it in this movie, and that's what makes him Spider-Man. He is finally Spider-Man here. And that was, beyond all the other, the trappings of it, the fact that Tom Holland Spider-Man finally gets to be Spider-Man and does it in such an amazing, awesome way. I'm cheering, and that's before everybody else shows up. And I gotta say one thing, Rachel, you were talking about how the stars aligned to get all of these actors in. Every single one of those actors, from some the Lizard and Sandman, even that they didn't have quite as big a bigger role, but every one of them brought their A game. They could have just been like, oh, you canceled my Spider-Man series, so I'm just going to show up and get the paycheck and phone it in. They could have, and they would have been completely justified in doing so. Wouldn't have made for as good a movie, but every single one of them, like, they gave it their all.
Right. And I was, and I think, they also, the way, like I said, the way the script was written, like, they're giving, you mentioned like Toby and Andrew's, Peter Parker's are getting kind of the validation that they hadn't necessarily gotten in the past, but then their respective villains, like, I've just, my memories of the very first Tobey Maguire one is just how, like, comic booky it is, almost to the point of being cheesy.
But it also leans into the cheese a little bit,
right? Which you can to a point, but I've always just had this, it's been a while since I watched it. I think I watched it like last year or something, and I've always just kind of found those, that particular trio of Spider-Man movies to be very comic booky, where it really leans into the fact that this is comic book based material. And it's kind of made it hard to take it seriously.
Although given the time it came out, it made sense. Just because
that's we didn't know. That's what we'd always kind of done with comic book based stuff is, up until like Tim Burton's Batman, anything based on comic books or like, well, it's a comic book, so it's a comic book come to life, look at the 60s Batman, that's it's literally a comic book come to life,
although not quite to that level of cheese, I will say.
Yes,
that.
exactly. Yeah, it's somewhere in between MCU and 1960s Batman as far as cheese is concerned, but I was so impressed with William Dafoe.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
He
to
brought
see him back
so much, like, it was way easier to take Norman Osborn seriously in this movie.
Yes.
And actually feel sorry for him.
Yes.
And feel for him. And Alfred Molina too.
Oh my god.
Yes,
I was
Jack Ock.
Those two just killed it.
Exactly. Yes. I mean Willem Dafoe is one of my favorites from those early Spider-Man movies, and just he nails it every single time. But this one, and there were times in those other movies I did feel sorry for him, like you said, but this one I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are getting Norman Osborn spot on here. And I know like in that original movie there were some complaints about, the costume and a couple other things, but even, and they kind of, but here they did it in such a way that, it's just, he's just grabbing whatever clothes he has, but then he actually becomes the Green Goblin without, the Green Ranger mask. And all this other stuff.
Thank you, Weird Al.
Yes. But it's just kind of, I mean, and the other one I was really, really hoping they got right was Doc Ock, Otto Octavius, because at the end of that movie, he dies a hero. He dies that because he stops the big nuclear, I can't remember what it's called, that big ball of that big sun that's in the river, and he drowns
the fusion
thingy,
because he wants to harness the power of the sun in his hands.
And then like Tom Holland's Peter Parker's talking to him and saying like we can get it so the tentacles aren't running your brain anymore, and then they fix it
because he's in pain. They figure out that he's just in pain, like actual physical pain, and it's so mentally torturing him.
And he's the one that that Peter starts to quote unquote fix and make him better, and he's the one I feel like, as far as a character goes, deserves it the most, because he was such a good he was a good guy to Peter, and he throughout that movie. Even after the tentacles take over and he turns into Doc Ock, but even in this movie, there's moments even before Peter fixes the problem that he's still like, yes, I want this to stop. I want this to end. And then even later at the end of the movie, and I'm sitting there thinking like, wait a minute, we haven't seen Doc Ock in a while. Is he going to show up and be on the good guy side? And he did. And I was so happy to see that, because I feel like it's like this he even gets this whole character arc, and it took almost Spider-Man 2 since then for this character arc to happen, but it made me so happy because I love him.
Yes.
I love
out of character. All the villains that deserved the redemption arc, I'm right with you. Doc Ock, followed second by our Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe.
Yes. And oh my gosh, it's just, well, then also Electro, because I know I didn't actually see Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I know enough
I didn't either.
That version of Electro just did not get a good run. Like the writing and some of the other constraints of that movie just were not in his favor. But here, I feel like Jamie Foxx just nailed it beat for beat, even kind of being, because he's like, well, now I want to be a villain and I want to do all this stuff. So
and it goes to show that just because you can fix someone doesn't necessarily mean that they want to be fixed. Right. Even if you do fix them, it may not necessarily change their nature.
Yeah, and that,
he's the most reluctant out of all of them when they're all like, I can fix you. He first attaches that thing to his chest, and he's like, okay, but then he's like, screw this. And the minute that they opened the 3D printer thing, and Tony's arc reactor was there, and you saw Jamie Foxx's eyeball and zoom in out thing, I'm like, Okay, I never thought. I was like, he's gonna get his hands on that thing, and it's gonna be bad. And I never thought I'd see the day with Electro with one of Iron Man's arc reactors.
Yeah.
And I was right. It's a bad combination.
Yes.
Yes.
But
yes.
at the same time,
the
it's
minute,
really cool.
Yeah, the minute I saw that arc reactor and Electro's in the same room, I'm like, oh no.
He's like Gollum with the ring.
Oh yeah. I was
My precious.
Yes.
Like, this is not going to end well.
No.
This is going to end in tears.
Yes, it is. And Peter, Tom Holland's Peter, bless his heart. He's just like so idealistic and so wide-eyed. Like everything can be solved with science. I mean, when he's fighting Doctor Strange in the mirror dimension, he's like, math, I know geometry. He's like everything is solved with science, and he doesn't quite get people yet. Which is kind of par for the course. If you have an engineer's brain, you're kind of you're not typically you're not very good with people. It's just is kind of
you're wired to look at the world a little differently.
Yes, you're wired to look a little, and there's nothing wrong with it. But when you have to deal with human beings, and they're not, it's not such a mechanical process. You're kind of like, oh, you don't want you actually don't want to be a good guy, or you want to be the villain type. You want to keep these powers, and you want to, and like, oh, okay, now I actually have to fight and be, oppose you, because if you get away with this, then we're all in trouble. So it's just, yeah, it like I said, this is the movie where Tom Holland's Peter gets to he learns some really hard lessons and has to deal with some very awful consequences, and they don't pull their punches.
No. To paraphrase another magician that we know, magic comes with a price, dearie.
Yes, exactly. And Peter has to pay the price. Not, he got bit by the spider, and Tony gave him all that tech and all that other stuff. But until he has the experience and he has the mentality of Spider-Man, he's not really Spider-Man. And you can. You can argue that forever, but it's true as far as Spider-Man.
Right.
You talk to Spider-Man fans of the comics and the movies. There is this certain thing about Spider-Man that he has to go through the hard knocks before he is truly. You think, well, here we'll compare it to Superman, because Superman, he's like, he's born and raised by a good family, and he has that innate sense of this is right and this is wrong. Spider-Man kind of has to learn that as he goes, which is what makes Spider-Man so relatable and why people love him, because, Superman, he was born on an alien planet and he came to Earth and has powers. Batman is a billionaire and he buys all his stuff. Tony Stark is a billionaire and he makes his tech and all these things. Spider-Man, he's just a regular kid. Like anybody could have gotten bit by that spider and become all these things. So he gets the bite and decides he's going to be a superhero. He has to, understand the morality, that his actions have consequences, and how to deal with these things. And he actually has the learning process, which everybody can relate to. It doesn't matter what you are, where you are in life. You have to go through that process of, okay, these are the things, this is what I can do. And, what am I going to do with my abilities and talents? I mean, you're not a superhero, most likely, obviously, but there are other things you do and that you can do. And how are you going to use your talents? And I feel like that is why Spider-Man speaks to so many people, because he's just a kid. He's just a regular guy. And we all get that. We're all kind of slogging our way through life and trying to figure it out as we go. And to see someone like that succeed and make mistakes, but learn from those mistakes is very relatable. And I don't care who you are or what your background is. Everyone can relate to that on some level.
Yep.
Which is why he's so popular.
And two, I think it was really good that Happy didn't have too much of a play in his interactions with Peter. I think Peter needed to have the other Peters there to give him the talk that he needed to, like, hey,
in this case,
this is what it needs to be done.
he literally has people that have walked in his shoes,
Right.
or, you know, in the spandex.
Right. Yeah.
So they can literally be like, yeah, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So, because you know how people can be, you know, not just, yeah, we see that a lot with other superheroes. Like, this is one of the things that drove me nuts about like Arrow and why I gave up on it is, you know, Oliver Queen would just be like, the burden I have of a superhero and no one gets it. And, you know, his friends and whoever try to, you know, be there for him, but he'd just be like, you don't get it. You haven't been where I've been. In this case, our, you know, MCU Peter has literally got two other Peter Parkers are like, yeah, no, we've been there.
Yeah.
We
And
get
We've
it.
lost people we love. We've made dumb decisions
Mhm.
and done
it's
stupid things that have cost us dearly.
yeah, it's it's kind of reinforced by the fact that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, at least, I mean, it's been 20 years since his first movie. He is, you know, visibly older. I mean, not like old, but you can tell he's older.
He's 45 now.
Yeah, he's 45. I mean, he's still Spider-Man, and you know, his Peter Parker, same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I've made all these dumb
He does need to
mistakes.
stretch a bit more before going into
Yeah.
that whole thing where he's like, oh, my back, and then Andrew Garfield's like, oh, let me do this thing where he's like reaches around and cracks his back, and like Chauncey has to have that done all of the time at the chiropractor. We were laughing so hard.
Yeah, well, and it also, because there were some issues when he was originally filming his movies where, you know, he had some back issues.
Yeah,
but I mean, but you know, the fact, like, here is an older version of you, Peter, and who's done all this. So listen to him, please. He can be a father, uncle, some you know mentor figure for you in this moment. And you know, and Andrew Garfield doesn't have that quite as much, but he is older, or at least looks older than Tom Holland. So it's all these things, and you know, Andrew Garfield's Peter has definitely seen some shit. But it just kind of, you know, it's that whole, I mean, yeah, because Tony Stark was sort of his mentor in the other movies, but at the same time, Tony was kind of like, here, let me give you all this tech and we'll fix it for you. This is
right, and then don't bother me, kid.
Yeah, don't bother me,
but
kid.
But then when the shit started to get real, and Peter's just like, Tony, I need help, and doesn't answer, and then Peter has to go off and try to solve it, and then Tony's like, why didn't you say something? It's like, dude, he tried.
Yeah, but so it's like you see this, I'm like, oh, they're gonna be his mentors, and I loved it. And so that's what I was so glad to see them. Like, I mean, I knew that they were like trying to keep that under wraps, to the point that Andrew Garfield was out there saying, I'm not in the movie, I don't know why people keep asking me. I'm like,
sure, you're not in the movie.
And it's like, press X to doubt. But,
yes,
but you know, but that they kept it under wraps was amazing. But it's just, yeah, I forgot.
And then seeing a certain avocado at law with a cameo appearance, thanks to Happy.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. Like I mean,
my theater cheered.
Yes,
mine did too.
I was one of them. I was like,
although
me too.
I knew that it was happening because my brother-in-law, who is a huge Daredevil fan, because they went and saw it before we did, and and he texted Jared and said, I got my Charlie Cox cameo, and I was like, well, we kind of knew that was happening. But it was still, the way that they did it was just so good, because it was, because you know, he does the thing. It's like, I'm a very good lawyer. He grabs that whatever rock or something out of the
brick, throws it out of the window.
Yeah.
I had to explain who that was to Chauncey afterwards, though, because he had no idea. He hadn't watched any of the Netflix stuff, and he was like, "Who was that?" And I'm like, "That's Daredevil." And I was trying to explain to him how there's a certain subset of the fandom that's all like, oh, the Netflix and like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, they're not canon. And it's like, well, suck it.
Yep. Yeah, my mom was.
I've always considered that stuff canon, but now you have no argument. So
my mom was in the same boat.
Which we'll
as
get into
Chauncey.
even more of that when we talk Hawkeye next week.
Yeah, because my mom was like, who is that lawyer? I was like, long story short, it's from a Netflix series. He plays a good guy who can't see, and I'll explain later.
Yeah.
Chauncey at least knows who the character Daredevil is. He just didn't know that was supposed to be Matt Murdock.
And
Daredevil. So,
and I mean,
which is funny. Sorry, I did not know this because I've never seen the Ben Affleck Daredevil, but apparently Jon Favreau plays Foggy.
Yes,
in the Ben Affleck Daredevil. So.
My mom has seen the Ben Affleck Daredevil. So
I'm sure Jon Favreau was probably having a moment of like, okay, I'm sitting across from a guy wearing a suit with the red little glasses and the walking stick.
Yeah.
That is not Ben Affleck.
I had to check real quick. Daredevil, they are all those Netflix Marvel things. They are still on Netflix. I couldn't remember if they were still there or not, but there they are. So if you haven't watched Daredevil, at least go do that.
At the very least,
at the very
because very good.
That and plus that'll help you get a little more backstory for next week's episode or as well with Hawkeye.
Yeah, so Daredevil is awesome, and it's cool that he was Peter's lawyer.
Yes.
Although I am glad that they didn't call him in as Daredevil, because Daredevil's a street level superhero. He's not really into all this cosmic big villains, big everything. He kind of gets in the gritty, the nitty gritty, down and dirty type stuff. So, but it's good that he's still there.
Above my pay grade, I can offer legal advice, but beyond that, you're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so overall, I mean, it's just, it was just a fun movie, and it's one that I'm like, I feel like this is the one I've been the most excited for in a really long time, probably since Endgame. Just, it is partially the marketing, because I've been with, following the Spider-Man movies since the first one. But one thing I really noticed, that I took notice of, is all of these villains are from the Sony movies. There are no villains that are unique to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and like Doctor Strange was there, but they kind of dispatched him fairly quickly.
Yes, they did.
And Aunt May is killed, and then Happy,
R.I.P. Marissa Tomei.
I know, and then Happy gets arrested and hauled off. So it's like, really, it's Peter and MJ and Ned, but even they're kind of sidelined for a bit. So it's Tom Holland Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and then all the villains. And I'm just like, this is a Sony Spider-Man reunion, and I can, Amy Pascal is counting that dough, and she is. Which, she definitely deserved to do it. And then I loved one thing I got a kick out of is watching the credits, because you watch to the end, is there was this great big logo at the end, Columbia Pictures and Sony, just in case you didn't know who was really
who owned
in charge here, who owned what. And the fact that they've completely it's a blank slate from going here on out, because if Sony really wants to do their own Spider-Man thing, because the rights are still kind of iffy, they'll still play ball with Marvel, but they are really wanting to do their own thing. They in the mid-credit sequence scene with Venom, Eddie Brock and Venom, it's like, which I was glad that they put that in there, because it kind of, it was a nod to, and I haven't seen the Venom movies because it's not really my thing, but I understand what role they play.
It going forward, you probably should.
Yes, I do realize this. I got that memo.
Yeah, we were Holly and I were talking that before we started the show, and like, between that and the upcoming Morbius movie, I'm like,
Yes.
I need
Which
probably
that
need to
one-
start paying attention to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like Sony has like low key been building up their own little cinematic universe with Spider-Man, while everyone's been watching Marvel and DC do their dog and pony show. DC's over or not DC, Sony's been over here like, and then you have a Venom movie and have another Venom movie and Morbius and boom, have Spider-Man. And guess what? We're writing him out of the MCU. So if we want to bring him over to our little thing, we can. So they've kind of written themselves an out, which they may or may not need. I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to see how things go from here on out. But
I've had a couple people mention that. Yeah, they're like, it's like, well, I guess that's it for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. It's like, I think at this point, I thought.
well, Sony
I'm
definitely wants him back.
Yeah, well,
they definitely want him back.
My memory though, because I swear, at one point I had read or seen something that Tom Holland had already signed on.
Now he is
two more.
He is,
and also the cartoon.
Yeah, so he has signed on for. I heard it was 3, but maybe it was 2. But he's
it may be 2 plus the cartoon, which would make 3.
That would make 3. But he is taking a break for a little while because he wants to do other things, which can't blame him.
All right.
So I mean,
he started filming this right after he finished filming. I think it was
Uncharted
I think.
Yeah,
so he's been a little busy.
He has. So I mean, this isn't like slamming the door on the MCU Spider-Man, but it also puts more control with Sony, I think. So Sony's still going to be like, okay, yeah, you guys can use Spider-Man, but I feel like that they've got a lot more say in how the character is going to be used in the movies from here on out. And I know, before there was that whole brouhaha over they Sony and Disney just couldn't come to an agreement, and basically it was Disney
we
wanted
almost
too much.
didn't get this movie. It wasn't for Tom Holland.
Disney wanted too much money. They kept asking for more and more and more, and Sony said pound sand, and that that almost put the kibosh on it. And then Disney had to go back to him with hat in hand after Tom Holland called up Bob Iger and said,
he essentially gave him the puppy dog eyes going,
yes.
Please, I want some more.
Yeah, basically. So it was a combination of Sony saying, okay, yeah, we'll figure out a way to do this, but don't get greedy, Mickey. Was basically how it happened. So yeah, Sony, as far as Spider-Man's concerned, Sony is very much in charge here. And it's sort of as big as the MCU is, and as big as we think, Disney cannot be touched. Sony's pretty well. They've put a stake in all of this, and they've said no, we're still here, we're still doing this, and we're not out of the ball game yet.
Yeah, and, they know Spider-Man's printing them money, so they're like
to the point where they have Spider-Verse over here. I don't know, they may end up doing more movies with Andrew Garfield, who knows? And then they've got Venom and Morbius and some of these others. And it's just kind of like, I am really fascinated and interested where Sony's going to take this. And it's like, it was like kind of under the radar. We didn't know, like nobody was really paying attention to this until like all of a sudden Venom did really, really well this year. And then now this, and it's like, okay, let's, keep an eye on these guys, because they're not taking it down.
Take notes, because Disney should take notes. I mean, this Sony Disney team up for this, I'd say, hey, let's try to get into the agreement that we did for this one and keep producing this content. I mean, it's gonna be gangbusters for both of you guys in the end.
It's win-win for everybody. At this point.
I'm not saying it's not. But and a lot of this is, like I said, this movie is the first one I've really been interested in a long time. Some of these other MCU movies have kind of felt underwhelming, and and I get it. This one had a lot of backstory and a lot of other stuff going on for it, but it's kind of like, how do you generate this kind of excitement for your other stuff that you have coming up? Because who is going to tent pole the MCU going forward. And it's
Right.
kind like they don't really, I mean, they have some, but they don't have anything this big and this, you know, this.
Right.
They don't have another Tony Stark. They don't have another Steve Rogers. They have their sidekicks. They have their side characters. Who's going to be, you know, the big draw? Who's got the charisma and who's got the storyline and who's got the likability? And, I mean, and I don't, unless something drastic happens, I don't think they have anybody who can do that that's still hanging around the MCU. I mean, Doctor Strange, maybe, but it looks like he's kind of going to be a sidekick in his own film with that teaser trailer. So I mean we'll see. I'm not closing the door forever, but there's some question marks hanging over
there's some shoes that need to be filled.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, I'm not saying that they're you know, down for the count, but there's some stuff that needs to be there's some like you said, some shoes that need to be filled.
This is something again Holly and I were talking about. It's like I don't want to start going down the Hawkeye rabbit hole because
next week, but
we're gonna save it. We're gonna save that. But I think they are doing some of that, but not. They're doing it a different way than what they've done before. But again, we'll talk about that when we talk Hawkeye. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of stuff happening. So but yeah, they've done a really good job about tying up a lot of loose ends and giving some characters some better, you know, right off into the sunset than they may have gotten in their OG films. Both, you know, as far as the way they're written and the way they're portrayed, but also in universe. Like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man now has finally gotten some personal redemption because, you know, he, you know, inadvertently is the reason that Gwen Stacy's dead. You know, he tried to save her and it backfired. So he you know, and you saw it in the trailer, you see MJ falling and it's like, like she's gonna get saved. They're not gonna pull a Gwen Stacy with her. Zendaya is too big of a draw.
Well, and it's like they already
but it never
that.
occurred to me that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man would be the one to save her.
Which, you know, again, this speaks to the quality of this movie is they didn't just copy that moment like, oh, she dies because he saves her, you know, he tries to save her and fails. It's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man learned from his mistake, and you know, I'm sure like he's gone through it a million times in his head, like what could I have done different, and this time he gets it, he gets a chance to do it. So, you know, Tom Holland doesn't save her, Andrew Garfield does, and he gets that catharsis, you know, that he didn't get at the end of he didn't get to have in his movies. You know, presumably that, you know, he would have gotten in a third movie. So, you know, again, mad props for using your characters and your actors not just as cheap fan service cameos, but as actual characters in the story, important to the plot.
Yep.
So, you know, again, all of these studios and people, you know, trying to cash in on fan nostalgia, this is how you do it.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. And they've you know, they've managed to tie up a lot of things, but then also leave things open, not just for Marvel, but, you know, like what Chrissy was saying, but Sony as well. So, you know, they can go and continue to do their things with Spider-Verse related, you know, like the mid-credit scene we got with, which if you had seen, again, spoilers for Venom Let There Be Carnage, that's mid-credit scene was seeing Eddie Brock, you know, popping into a random hotel room, not knowing where the hell he is. But it turns out he's in the MCU because he's seeing Peter Parker's identity being revealed on TV thanks to J. Jonah Jameson, which, oh my God, I love that they're like, yeah, no, J. Jonah Jameson, no matter what universe it is J.K. Simmons.
If they ever try to recast him, I mean, unless there's some other extenuating circumstance they can't get him.
No,
I think there might be.
J. Jonah Jameson is played by J.K. Simmons.
Yes,
So.
in one universe, one universe he's actually running a newspaper, and another one he runs a conspiracy theory YouTube channel.
Exactly,
with a really huge budget and drones.
Yes,
that's exactly. And it all works in the same way.
Yeah.
But again, Eddie back to
Eddie Brock gets pulled into the MCU, and that's how they left it in Let There Be Carnage. And then here we spent all this time with and some of the YouTube reviews, the videos I've watched where they're talking about when Peter and Doctor Strange are arguing with each other, and Doctor Strange is like, "You've already made me change the spell 6 times," and Peter's like, "Well, technically it's 5." And you're doing like the count of like the villains and then the 2 other Peters, and it's like, well, this isn't adding up until we get that post, that mid-credit scene, which if you haven't seen Let There Be Carnage, you'd be kind of confused maybe. But no, when the multiverse opened and they got pulled in Venom, it's been explained that the symbiotes are connected in a hive mind, kind of like the Borg, but their hive mind goes across all universes.
Yes.
So the symbiote that knew Toby's Peter Parker would have relayed that information to Eddie Brock's symbiote. And that's why he got pulled in, even though that particular symbiote has never met any of our Peter Parkers that we know of.
Yes.
But that's why, it's because symbiotes in general know of a Peter Parker. So that's why he got pulled in. But instead of bothering to go and try and hunt down the reason he got pulled in, he ends up, because he gets pulled into a resort in Mexico, he just stays at the bar and gets drunk the entire movie. And misses out on everything in the time by the time the bartender fills him in on everything that's happening on our universe. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to New York and find this kid. Dr. Strange just fixed the spell and they all get sent back.
Yep.
But he leaves just a little bit of symbiote behind. So now there's just enough symbiote in our universe for that to be a problem down the line.
So now the MCU can have Venom if they so choose, which is kind of funny.
another one of the symbiotes. It doesn't necessarily have to be Venom or Carnage.
Well, okay.
And hopefully this symbiote doesn't have the a predilection for alcohol as this one did.
Yeah, seriously. Oh man.
Yeah. And I have to say, for my mom, as little as Marvel as she has seen, she has been loving. She loved this one. She liked Captain Marvel. She liked Black Widow. The only one that she was a little iffy on was the Eternals. I'm just like, that one's even new to me with new characters. She's to the point now where she'd rather go with me to see a Marvel movie instead of a Star Wars, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. So it's kind of become our thing.
We got one.
When she saw, when she saw the, for the Doctor Strange trailer, she's like, why do I? I'm just like, I'll fill you in.
Yeah. So
Doctor Strange was on yesterday, so she watched that, and I'm just like, and now I got to get you into some WandaVision and What If, and you'll be set.
Yeah, let's talk about that post-credit scene, which was actually a trailer, which is referring to.
Yeah,
which they have not. That which, if you remember, we got the first Avengers trailer as a post-credit scene for Captain America: The First Avenger. So it has been done before, but it's been a long time since they a post-credit scene as a backdoor to give us a trailer for an upcoming movie.
Yeah, because I was sitting there watching it, and I was like at the beginning, it's you just hear him like casting the spell. I'm like, oh, I already heard this. Is this what the post-credit scene is? Lame. And then it started like, oh, it's a trailer. Oh, okay. And then we just have all the
Doctor
things
Strange.
going on.
Oh my god! But it looks so good. Like Steven, you can't help yourself, can you? No. He's not even Sorcerer Supreme anymore, which again I was telling Chauncey, because he's seen Shang-Chi, but he has not seen What If yet. I was like, here we've been joking about how Wong is going to be the savior of the MCU going forward. He probably is. He is Sorcerer Supreme now. So Wong kind of is our savior.
Yes. Hey, Wong, can you go and magic the 9-eye gun? I think Steven needs a hit.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that we see Wanda again. Which is awesome, but it looks like we're probably going to get a little dark Doctor Strange, kind of like what we got in What If.
Oh yeah.
So
it almost makes me wonder if the Steven that was casting the spell wasn't actually alternate verse evil Doctor Strange.
I don't think so, but it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether it's a side effect of this, him doing the one spell and it being botched because of Peter's,
numerous requests.
Yeah. And then doing essentially the same spell on top of it, trying to band-aid it. Because I mean, the universes were like literally, we were getting a crack in the universe, and you could see like silhouettes of other Spider-Man villains, like Rhino and Black Cat, and some of the others that would, if he'd not been able to close it, they probably would have come through too.
I was almost waiting for the outline of the Watcher to show up in some of those cracks. I'm like, okay, are we bringing in What If right now?
Yeah. So
sure.
It's like, did maybe Stevens, didn't fix it as much as he thought he did, or if it has something to do with, I would say it would have something to do with Wanda, but in the trailer, Steve goes to Wanda for help. So who knows? It's interesting. I'm so excited. This is Scott. I mean, I'm always excited whenever we get Marvel stuff. But I'm latching on to the Cloak of Levitation for dear life, because Stephen Strange is all I've got left. So someone comes along and I'm like, you can be my new favorite. Not that I'm not loving the others, but you got your favorites. Parents like to say they don't have favorite children. When it comes to the MCU, I've got favorite children, and unfortunately 2 out of 3 are dead. So
the old guard is hanging up the shields, the capes and whatnot, and it's just like
and who replaces him? Don't know.
Who knows? So
well, and I also love the comment that Ned makes. Is like, you aren't going to kill me, are you? And it's just like, oh boy! Like, and my mom was
I
like,
promise never to.
It's
like, I promise never to turn evil and try to kill you.
And my mom's like, why did he say that? I'm just like, in the comic books, he does turn bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the comics, there's a version of Ned that becomes Hobgoblin and tries to kill Spider-Man. So yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes, Neds. There are other Neds out there.
Yes. Maybe. Hopefully, he doesn't use his newfound magic for evil. Don't become Hobgoblin, Ned.
It's a wonder if Ned will remember that he has magic, even though he doesn't remember Peter. Kind of like MJ is still wearing the Black Dahlia necklace.
Yeah.
Even after they've forgotten who Peter Parker is. So.
Makes me wonder if there isn't something within that spell of something they see or something will trigger and then it'll bring everything back in.
Probably. That would be my guess. Would be my guess. So
yeah. I mean,
in the meantime, MJ and Ned and apparently Flash all get to go to MIT. And poor Peter has to take the GEDs because he couldn't complete high school because there's no Peter Parker to be a student at Midtown High.
there's no record of him. Although it would be interesting if he got to go to MIT anyway and saw MJ and Ned and the latent memory that is surely in their minds. But who knows? They can go that direction if they want.
Yep. So let's see here. Let's finish out this discussion with a few Easter eggs.
Okay. What are they?
May or may not have known about. Like Aunt May's gravestone, when we see Peter at her gravestone and runs into Happy and he has to act like he has no idea who Happy is. The quote on her headstone, when you help someone, you help everyone, also appears on her headstone in the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man video game.
Oh, interesting.
So apparently Aunt May dies in the video game too.
Poor Aunt May.
Yeah, really.
Well, I mean, Uncle Ben's already dead, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
true.
Yeah. This is a very Disney thing, these types of Easter eggs here. The assistant vice chancellor from MIT, when Peter goes to hunt her, chase her down on her way to the airport, her license plate on the car that she's in is 63-ASM-3. That is a reference to Amazing Spider-Man number 3, issue number 3, released in 1963, and that is the first appearance of Doc Ock. And who shows up on that bridge?
Doc Ock.
Doc Ock.
Yes. Also, she is played by Penny Johnson-Gerald, who, among other things, was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine and in 24. Every time I see her,
I knew she looked familiar.
And she's in the Orville. She's a doctor.
Yes.
Crap. It's been so long since I've watched Orville.
And I think
it'll be back soon-ish.
She played on Castle. She played Gates. So yeah, it's like I know I've seen her somewhere.
Yes. So yeah, every time I see her, I'm like, it's Sherry Palmer. 24. She's a right bitch in 24, but she's actually a very nice lady.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yep.
She's nice enough in this too, until she forgets who Peter Parker is, but that's not her fault.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway.
There is, and it being in New York, there's graffiti on in places. So there's some graffiti that appears while our Scooby Gang is hanging out on the roof of the high school, and then also graffiti on the side of the delivery truck from Aunt May's work, the charity that she works for, Feast. And it's the graffiti, if you can make it out, it reads Ditko.
Yes, I did
Steve Ditko.
I saw that one and I was like,
Spider-Man.
Yep. Oh, cool.
Yep. And then last one that I know of that could point out, and very appropriate considering it is tomorrow as we're recording this. Also during that fight with Doc Ock, when he first appears, there is a taxi in that mix of vehicles, and the number of that taxi is 1228, which December 28th, which is tomorrow, actually, as we're recording this, is Stanley's birthday.
Oh, cool.
Aww.
So we did get our Stanley cameo.
In a way, yes.
Yes.
So I'm sure there are a bazillion more Easter eggs. Those are just the ones that, more will be found as people watch it over and over and over again and can pay more attention to the details. But I really want to go see it again. I have not had the time, and I'm like, oh
Same
here. I know. Well, my thing is like, I want to watch it at home and like pause for all those Easter eggs, so I can be like, there's that thing. There's that thing, or just watch it from my couch. But this one,
it's gonna be a while before you can watch it at home. I think that
at
the rate it's going, I would not be surprised if this pulls a Black Panther and just stays in the movie theaters for a exorbitant amount of time. Because it's just making bucket loads of money.
I will say this, and I've heard it said other places, and I tend to agree with it, because up until now, a lot of movies that have not done so well, they're like, oh, we're in a pandemic, and people aren't going to the movies and other things. And then Spider-Man shows up and it's like, hi, and everybody comes to the movies. So it's like, I don't think the pandemic excuse is gonna work anymore.
No, we're being a little more choosy in what we are going to put seats in theaters to go watch.
Yes, well, and some of it is some of the movies just haven't been all that great, but Spider-Man's worth it. And hopefully you've already seen it by now because we spoiled the crap out of it. But I was just going to say, if you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yes.
But I hope you have seen it if you've gotten this far in the podcast, because then you got spoiled, and I'm sorry, but we did tell you.
Yeah, we did.
I loved Strange's referral to Peter, Ned, and MJ as the Scooby Gang.
Yes.
I was almost waiting for him to paraphrase Giles when the three of them left, like, the universe or the world is doomed from Buffy.
Yep.
But that was not the case.
No. But here we are. And anything else we want to say about our new favorite movie?
Just go see it.
Go see it again. I mean, I feel like 2021 has just been kind of a slog. I mean, it wasn't as crazy and weird as last year, but it's just kind of this, it's malaise is the best thing I can think to describe it. It just doesn't end. But for a few shining hours, you went to the movie theater and Spider-Man was awesome, and it felt good. So take the goodness where you can and go see it again and enjoy it.
And like Chrissy, like you said, this was fan service done right.
Yes. And, and mad props to Sony and Marvel for getting it right, and everyone involved, and for keeping the secret, and even to the point where Andrew Garfield is flat out lying to everybody about it. I still can't get over it. Like, and I love that he was the first other Spider-Man to show up, and I'm like, Garfield, you freaking liar! And I love
liar. Yep.
But you know what? It was a great surprise, and you're forgiven.
He should have just taken the route that
that Ruffalo and
no there was a where is it? Topher Grace. They had asked, he did a Reddit AMA, and they asked if he was going to be in it. And this is what he said, because he plays Eddie Brock, Venom, and Tobey Maguire, third Spider-Man. He said, "Please keep it between us, but yes, I am in it. The plot starts with Peter Parker bummed that everyone knows his identity, and then some crazy shit happens with Doctor Strange, and Dr. Octopus comes into his dimension. The Electro and the Green Goblin hop out of one of those energy circles, and they're like, it's spider stomping time. Then Tom Hardy and I pop out and battle each other, and I win, obviously. It's like not even a fight. I just kick his ass immediately. Not to give too much away, but there's also some actors from the original 70s Spider-Man show, Aquaman and Batman, Ben Affleck, not Michael Keaton crossover. And thanks to Disney, Han Solo's Ghost from Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, and Eve the Robot from WALL-E. Again, please keep it between us."
Oh,
that's just kind of like yesterday I somehow stumbled upon a Facebook thing, Endgame deleted scene with Wong holding open the doors and everybody and their uncle coming through to destroy Thanos, and then Thanos just like, okay, I'm taking myself out. That's way too many.
Yep. So yeah, tell the truth, but then make it as ridiculous as possible, because the truth was pretty. Yes. And you know what? If you told us like 2 or 3 years ago that like, or maybe
we'd be getting this.
We'd be getting this. You're like, yeah, sure. Pull the other one, but no, we got it, and it was amazing. So anyway, so if
we will most gladly buy that bridge in London.
yes, exactly. Well, now that they've done this. Anything that someone says over the top will be like, okay, are you being serious or are you joking? I don't know yet. I still don't know. But anyway, if any of our listeners want to give their 2 cents about Spider-Man No Way Home or Spider-Man in general, or anything related to that topic, you can send us some feedback at our email address, which is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, to find links to our social media sites where you can leave comments, likes, and share our stuff. You can also support us through Patreon and any number of our affiliate links that we have also on our website. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your feedback. Just thank you for being out there and supporting our show. And as we're closing out this year, Happy New Year. May 2022 treat you decent. I'm not gonna give you huge promises that or huge wishes that 2022 will be the best year ever, because who the heck knows. But if you come out on the other side with all your limbs intact, maybe we'll chalk it up to a win.
We'll cautiously cross over the threshold and just not look anything askew.
I saw someone drew like a comic book panel type of thing, and it's like a group of stick figures with a long stick pointing at a door that's marked 2022, and they're like, is it okay? Or can we go through?
Can we touch?
Can we touch? What's on the other side? I don't want to look, but we got it. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, as crazy as it is, we shall be signing off for this week and for this year.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is Chrissy in Salt Lake City saying goodnight and Happy New Year.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, and this is Rachel up in Michiana area, and however you are going to be rigging in the new year, please be safe, and we will check you all next year. You have been listening to the 5ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official 5ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.